Well, it is that time of 2023 to take a look at how Big Finish are going to be celebrating Doctor Who's 60th anniversary. As in today's Big Finish audio drama review, I'm going to be taking a look at the first episode from the 60th anniversary celebratory series entitled Once and Future, with episode 1 as written by Robert Valentine, called Past Lives. This release is available to order now on the Big Finish website. The physical CD is £10.99 and the download is £8.99, and you do of course get the download free if you purchase the physical CD release. Most notably, of course, this episode is a part of a much bigger series, therefore I definitely recommend taking advantage of the bundle option on the Big Finish website in order to get the series in its entirety, as well as saving a little bit of money in the process. Something of which that is also worth noting is that when Once and Future was initially announced, you could also purchase a special edition version on the Big Finish official website. This was a limited edition to 3,000 units, and you could only purchase it as a part of a bundle alongside all of the releases within this series. However, this has now sold out, but you can still get the download version if you wish to do so. So ideally, I will be taking a look at Once and Future on the Host Productions over the next few months, so if you aren't subscribed already, I definitely recommend doing so in order to kind of track my opinion as this series progresses. And naturally, of course, I do also cover a lot of Big Finish on the Host Productions, so if you're looking for the latest Doctor Who audio drama releases or even their spin-offs, then I definitely recommend sticking around, as I review quite a variety on this channel. So before we move into the actual episode itself, I would also just like to specify the differences between the limited edition version and the standard edition. Story-wise, it is exactly the same. You are getting the same content, you're not missing out there. So if you are a fan of behind the scenes, it's definitely recommended to get the special edition because you have extended interviews, and there is also that variation in cover art as well, with the special edition having limited edition cover art, as well as some bonus artwork on the inner booklet. So, as a listener, I am going to be approaching this series of reviews in two different ways. I've been very fortunate that over the past few years I have listened to quite a lot of Big Finish releases, and yet I've only still touched the tip of the iceberg as to what they generally have to offer across their many different ranges. And for that reason, I do approach this series of reviews as a regular listener. There will probably be no character within this series that I haven't already experienced in some degree within the audio format. So as a returning listener, I am looking for something big and exciting. I'm also going to try and approach this series of reviews as a new listener, as with it being an anniversary special, it will receive more traction than your usual Big Finish releases. And for that reason, I am also expecting plots that are relatively easy to follow, with clear scene structure and a set of group characters making it very easy to listen along to. The integral thing with releases like this is that it's striking that fine balance between being an easy listen for a newcomer, but also offering the regulars something that they can engage with, which I imagine is probably quite difficult. Like most anniversary releases or special releases with Big Finish, they are essentially doing a showcase of the characters that they have to offer, a glimpse into the many other ranges that they do. This release sees Tom Baker in the predominant seat as the Doctor, uniting with Sarah Jane after the events of the Hand of Fear, where Sarah Jane did of course depart from the TARDIS, but also dealing with a sticky situation caused by the meddling monk, as portrayed by Rufus Hound. And to add on top of that, we also have the inclusion of the Unit New Series team, with Kate and Osgood thrown in for good measure. The episode starts off with a cracking opening scene, seeing the degeneration take shape. Much like how it is heard within the trailer, this provides lots of lovely glimpses to the other incarnations of the Doctor, both the original actors and the recast variations. We will naturally be discussing the recast Doctors at a later date within this series of reviews as the characters become more prominent, but it is quite scary to think that this is probably the first ever time that the recast Doctors have been properly blended with the original actors to this degree. So if you are someone who's perhaps a little bit uncertain about the recasts, this might be your first ever time experiencing them, as usually they're kind of kept in their own separate bubble who are there for those who wish to experience them. The plot features lots of jumping about to start with, seeing the Doctor travel after the monk who is up to no good as per usual. The story solidifies itself in modern day London, uniting the threads together for a potential Earth invasion story by the big crocodile people on the front cover, who are called the High Wraith. Whilst the monk is hanging around wanting their energy source, the Magnograph. I think Robert Valentine does a very good job of balancing all the threads and ultimately introducing this series to the listener. There is a particular moment within Tom Baker's performance as he and Sarah meet up once again, which I found really lovely. It's well acted by Tom and it's a lovely warm moment. After all, remember that despite the fact that this is the Fourth Doctor as portrayed by Tom Baker, technically this isn't really the Fourth Doctor, because it is the Doctor from a certain point in time within the Time War who has degenerated back into his previous self, meaning this is the Fourth Doctor, but with the memories of a later incarnation. So I suppose in a way, very much like how we are going to see within the actual 60th anniversary special on TV. Sadie Miller also captures the spirit of Sarah, and I've mentioned within the previous reviews that I've done with her character that it's nice that Elizabeth Sladen's legacy is carried on through a performance by her very own daughter. The dynamic that the characters have is very nostalgic, but also difficult, acknowledging that this isn't completely the Doctor that she once knew, and there is many things that she doesn't truly know about the Doctor overall. Uniting past memories can sometimes bring on a difficult reflection at the same time. It was also a great novelty seeing Gemma Redgrave and Ingrid Oliver back as Kate and Osgood. I think they definitely capture a similar spirit to what is seen within the 50th anniversary special, The Day of the Doctor. They are almost slightly daunted being in the presence of this previous incarnation that I suppose they've kind of heard about from the previous unit files. Admittedly, this is a little bit of fan service and allows for lots of references to previous Doctor Who stories. Perhaps at times it can be a little bit over the top and nostalgic for the sake of it, but that is twinned with a very dramatic action plot, which does kind of work. The whole of this story does feel very comic book in design. It features lots of quick scenes, a big baddie, and a bit of a brag about how much they all like the Doctor and what he does. In a way, it's what I did kind of expect from this story as an opener, a rather simple villain to follow and understand, but ultimately the main characters are those returning characters from the TV show itself. I wasn't really expecting going in anything to absolutely break the mould, and that is what this story delivers, a fun sci-fi adventure. However, I do hope that as this series progresses, we will see more thorough expansion to this degeneration concept, maybe even a few challenges or complex narratives to really push the Doctor to that next level. But I think as an opening story goes, Past Lives has taken the route which was sensible to take as an opening story, introducing the concepts, and it works sufficiently well as a standalone story too, minus the odd plot arc thread being solely introduced, and presumably what is starting to set up what is yet to unfold within this series. It's certainly a playful story, easygoing, and a little bit of harmless fun. If you are someone who is a regular listener to Unit the New series, be it the original run of stories or the latest current series that they've got going on with the likes of Naomi Cross and Harry Sullivan, and even the 11 in there as well for some reason, which personally I've not listened to, I think that perhaps that series will maybe contribute more to the overall character development of Kate Stewart and Osgood as people. This series does kind of see them as a little bit of an add-on to the Doctor and Sarah being the main focus, so don't really go into this story expecting big and bold character developments with Kate and Osgood. They're kind of there just to have a good time, to represent Unit and all of the things that they do within new series Doctor Who. And a very brief compliment, but I did love how as soon as Kate and Osgood appeared, the Unit the New series theme played within the background. Musically, it ties the threads between Doctor Who and its spin-off family member, and I definitely hope that that continues throughout the rest of this series as we continue to see more cameos moving forward. As always, Rufus Hound's performance as the meddling monk is very bouncy, loud and very theatrical. It certainly keeps both the listener and the Doctor on their toes, as you are never quite sure what on earth he's going to do next. especially when paired alongside the High-Rith, again another quite bold Alien Army grand plan style villain. It does feel like very much Doctor Who is doing a tribute to its more wacky fun adventures that doesn't quite take itself too seriously. Despite the fact that this story also starts with the Doctor potentially degenerating to the point of non-existence, which is quite dramatic. There's no big grand references to plot arcs or anything like that within this story, it's simply there with the main purpose to get the ball rolling. Or who knows, maybe there is some very big references within this story that as a listener I've not fully been able to acknowledge as of yet, due to it being the opening episode, and those smaller details I may have missed first time round will become more prominent as this series progresses. This is very much one of those narratives where the Doctor has to work with what he has got. He thinks that the monk may be able to provide some answers as to the current condition that he's found himself within, degenerating into his previous self. Meanwhile, you kind of have him utilising UNIT and the tools within the Black Archive, and ultimately the technology that he has left behind from his UNIT days, to kind of help and hopefully conquer the main foe of the story, which does allow for some fun scenes between the Doctor and the UNIT team, in particular seeing Osgood take quite a prominence with the whole alien kind of cataloguing side of things and reflecting on the Doctor's past. But I did think at times that perhaps Osgood did fall kind of more into that fangirl territory as opposed to being UNIT's scientific kind of advisor, being a very intelligent, highly skilled person that knows what she is doing. I think at times perhaps the jokes about her being a little bit in awe of the Doctor maybe got a little bit too much. That is my personal opinion anyway. Personally, I would have liked to maybe see her take a bit more command. After all, we did see a lot of that within the Day of the Doctor, so it would have been maybe nice to see a little bit more progression with her character to kind of show that she's met the Doctor now, so let's see her kind of fully interact with the Fourth Doctor and maybe even show off what she knows. But I certainly don't think that overall detracted from my overall opinion of the story. It was still a lot of fun, a lot of harmless fun with lots of action sequences. Sarah and the Doctor were great. It was an interesting way to kick off this series, and Robert Valentine definitely did a good job of essentially handling a very difficult task, opening what is possibly going to be a very grand epic of a series. So overall, for Doctor Who Once and Future Episode 1 Past Lives, I think this was an episode that I was most certainly expecting. It kind of delivered on my expectations, being a story that wasn't too onerous. It's simply there to introduce the concept of the series, a fun sci-fi adventure, but definitely not a story that is completely experimental and out there and breaking the mould or anything like that. Although this opening story is a lot of fun, it's a great invasion piece, it sets up the rest of the series well, I think that come maybe episode 3 or episode 4, I would really like to see Once and Future do something different, a bit more experimental, advertising the more bold stories the Big Finish can produce, because as much as it is nice to see classic Doctors meeting up with new series characters, I think that it would also be really exciting to take that in a certain direction that utilises the fact that this all started in the Time War, so I definitely have hopes. It's most certainly grabbed my attention, but I'm also hesitant to see where it goes next. So thank you very much for watching this review. I really hope you have enjoyed it. Do of course stay tuned on The Host Productions for regular Doctor Who reviews, and of course the continuation of this series of reviews over the next few months, leading into Doctor Who's 60th anniversary. So thanks for watching, have a nice day, and I shall see you all next time.